Hello Pipsters, welcome to episode 4 of Early Birds. It's kind of 11:30, but who gives a fuck? Welcome. It's Reggie and Monk here today. We've been going through some of the new content we've been putting out, a couple of short clips and videos. And surprisingly, when things are in bite-sized form, we do tend to latch on to certain points that maybe we didn't notice originally. So the big message of today's podcast is just how important is the aspect of acceptance for us to utilize within our lives. Now, it's hard to measure acceptance, right? It's not like you're measuring water or you're measuring something like that. It's very ethereal. It's one of those things you can't really measure. So how does one go about truly understanding the importance of accepting one's life situations, one's circumstances? And so Reggie came upon a rather revolutionary point in the recent podcast number 10 on the past, where acceptance is like a switch. It's this mental switch that the second we learn how to lock into that mode of saying, right, life is the way it is, what can we do about it? That's where instantly the world opens up to you. Reg, take it away, brother.
So the profound sort of deepening thoughts I had in regards to this was simply the fact that we've got to find a balance. And now, Monk, actually you were saying something about this which helped enlighten this thought to me. And that's simply the fact that if you go about acceptance in a sort of a happy mindset to say, you know what, it is what it is, I'm going to learn from this, rather than it is what it is, I'll accept the consequences later, you're going to be finding yourself in a negative emotion and situation where you'll probably end up doing something pretty fucking shady, and then you get left with these horrible consequences of not knowing what to do in life. So I think you got to find that balance, you got to find that seesaw, and you need to work on your mental state in order to accept with a positive outcome.
100% there, Rich. And you strike upon a huge point, which again we had covered in episode 10. We had skimmed over it, but to really dive into this, and this is one of the biggest mistakes which I have made, which originally I thought had set me back like 12 to 18 months, but only now do I realize, thank God it happened, because it's a chance for me to point this out to other people, and just how easy it is to make this catastrophic mindset mistake that will set you back if you do it wrong. And that mistake is this. If you take nothing else from this video, it's just do not do this mistake. And that is by trying to, I'm going to make mistakes because I learned through my mistakes. It's like, okay, cool. You can make 10 mistakes and learn the same amount as doing 100 mistakes, right? It's how do we go about learning to make mistakes in a more positive way that leads to more benefit, right? Rage, it's like you were saying with the Midas touch. How does one learn to take a mistake and turn it into the greatest thing that ever happened to them? Now,
you can only do that in a positive way.
100%.
Like if you have a positive mindset to say, you know what, okay, this situation has really, really sort of messed me up, but I'm going to look at it as the best thing that has happened to me so that I can develop and learn from this experience. Whereas if you say to yourself, it is what it is, it's been a real difficult situation, I'm going to try and find anything that I can about...
Oh, sorry.
It's alright.
You take it, brother.
I'm going to try and find anything to sort of just deal with it. To say, I don't care anymore. It's not worth it. It's not worth my time. Then it's not actually going to create any learning experience for you. You're going to end up making the same mistake again. You're going to end up needing to go through this learning process again. Whereas if you take that slight different mental approach, suddenly that experience becomes an insane learning curve where you'll not make that mistake again.
Right.
And if you do have an experience which is similar, then it's only going to encourage that growth.
Right. As opposed to, if we have the wrong mindset about making mistakes, we might tend to make the same mistake but feel like, oh my god, I'm going to need to make this mistake again before I learn my lesson, and that just ends up with this cyclical pattern.
You go in circles.
You're going in circles. I mean, Moose Rampage was saying this the other day on episode 6, I think it was, Spiritual Seeds and Divine Flashbacks, where he's saying if we don't learn the lesson the first time round, it'll come back to haunt us again, but in a bigger way. So the consequences, if we don't learn our lesson now, the consequences will be that much bigger in the future if we haven't already learned that lesson. And coming to the point about how does one take away the most value possible from each mistake is understand those mistakes that are necessary to make, that are necessary to your self-growth, and understand what mistakes you don't necessarily have to make in order to grow. It's not a matter of running into every brick wall you see because, I've become the kind of person who's good at running into brick walls and going through them. I'm good at overcoming obstacles. Yay! That was my mindset. And I was making the same mistake again and again and again. Take, for example, I was doing some work for my boxing coach, Pasha. Pasha, love you to bits. Truth is coming out now. So instead of making business calls, there'd be moments where I was like, I'm feeling tired. I'm feeling like, let me go get some grass and let me go get some weed. Okay, cool. So then, when I'm feeling chilled, it's going to put pressure on me because I'm going to feel like, I only have a certain amount of time to do these calls in. And then it just puts unnecessary pressure on oneself because it's like, what? Are you trying to make your life purposefully hard so you can get yourself to do work and cause yourself additional emotional traumatic stress because you then feel like a moron because you're not doing the work you needed? But then again, it's clashing with this mindset of, I need to make mistakes to get better. It's like, bro, find out the right mistakes. Like, fail forward. Like, fail going towards the target. Don't just fail everywhere because that makes you a failure who never learned. And there's what is there to learn because you don't have any goal you're traveling towards, And it's like the switch you were saying, bro. It's tough to accept things unless we can see that there's a brighter future ahead of us. Other than that, it's just like saying, I accept my circumstances and fuck the consequences because I'm going to go do meth under a bridge and it is what it is. I mean, there's been stories of prison inmates who have said, you know what, it is what it is, man. You had to kill your wife and 3 kids to gain some perspective on life. You had to go and set those 2 houses on fire. And it's like, yeah, okay, but to what extent do you need to kill 4 people and set 2 houses on fire before you get that positive mindset of it is what it is, right? Like, it's going to be controversial, bringing up Hitler. I believe someone like Hitler, had he lived an extra 20 years and somehow figured out, I've been a bad person, he would have, not like he would have, but there is a minute chance that he could have somehow found a way of saving 200 million people from starvation or something, if after contributing to 80 million people on the earth dying in starvation and famine and family torture. That's not really the case. You know what I'm saying is, why do you have to go through and have 80 million people dying before you figure out, I was doing the wrong thing, I need to change my mindset? But do you think, Reggie? Oh?
The camera. You're like videoing the road.
Reggie's gorgeous. We have to video Reggie and his new blonde hair. What say you, Reggie?
I say aye.
Aye, yay! Say yay, yay! Say yay, yay!
I think it's been an awesome podcast, enlightening ourselves in this whole concept of acceptance. And if you haven't learned how to actually say it is what it is, then go through
Reggie,
some thoughts.
Just before we jump off, could you spend a minute helping people to practically understand the meaning of it is what it is? Putting your hand up, associating it with like a physical response.
Let's give a practical example. Let's say I break a plate in the kitchen and it causes distress to the cats that are in the house. I need to learn how to accept the fact that I have just broken that plate. It is now done, it is finished, but I can learn from that. How? By looking at what caused this action to happen. So I then go into the thoughts. It is what it is. Which is, it is what it is. Now, you
Silence!
can fuck off, you dick. Wait.
Sponsored by Patterns in Paradise. We have just told driver behind us to go fuck himself. That's official. We love you, bro. So
Learn some road advocacy, people.
listen, we'll forgive you if you subscribe to us. Donate to our Patreon so we can fund a donkey auction and a corn farm. We're going to become farmers as well. It's going to be awesome. We're going to grow a bunch of cabbages,
Subscribe, put
tomatoes.
notifications on, and we love you all.
Love you all. Let's buy some farm animals. Pay for our beers, fuel money. Much love. I'm kidding. New equipment. Love you.